The virus unleashed. It began in the quiet corners of the world, small, isolated outbreaks that no one could have predicted would lead to the end of civilization as they knew it. The first reports came from a remote village in North America, where people began falling ill with strange symptoms, fever, nausea, and an uncontrollable rage. It was dismissed as a ray flu strain, something that would pass with time. But the virus didn't just make people sick, it transformed them. At first, the changes were subtle. Infected individuals grew larger, the muscles expanding at an alarming rate. They became more aggressive, their eyes turning a dark, glowing red as if fueled by some uncontrollable force. The first signs of true monstrosity didn't show until the infected began to attack each other. Feral, mindless violence taking over. No one knew it at the time, but this was just the beginning. Days turned to weeks, and what was once thought to be a localized infection spread beyond the small towns. Large cities began to report strange incidents, people fighting in the streets, tearing into one another, then running into the forests and dark corners of the city, where they were quickly transformed into something inhuman. The virus didn't just spread through contact, it was airborne. And once the mutated beings came in contact with others, the infection spread like wildfire, moving faster than anyone could react. Humanity had no answers. In New York City, people ran for their lives, trying to escape the chaos. Entire buildings were reduced to rubble as mutated monsters roamed the streets, tearing through anything in their way. The once thriving metropolis became a war zone. Sirens wailed in the distance, and the cries of the panic filled the air, but it was too late. The virus had already claimed its first victims. Superman, the world's mightiest hero, was among the few who could still stand against the infected. But even he couldn't keep up with the sheer number of mutated monsters that flooded the streets. They weren't just animals anymore, they were intelligent, able to coordinate attacks, and driven by a primal rage. The hero of Metropolis had faced many threats before, but this virus, it was different. It wasn't just a physical threat, it was a biological plague, one that had the potential to wipe out all of humanity. In the midst of the chaos, as Superman flew across the skyline, his cape trailing behind him, he felt the weight of the crisis growing heavier. The city below him was a war zone, and he couldn't save everyone. He'd already saved countless lives, stopped buildings from collapsing, and defeated dozens of infected monsters, but with each passing hour, the number of beasts multiplied. His vision, which had once been the most accurate on the planet, could now barely keep up with the infected. They moved too quickly, they were too strong, and there were just too many of them. Superman knew that if he couldn't stop the virus from spreading, there would be no city left to save. His thoughts were interrupted by a deafening roar from below. A massive, mutated creature, nearly as tall as a skyscraper, emerged from a destroyed building. It had skin as hard as steel and eyes that glowed with a fiery red rage. It was unlike any monster Superman had faced before. This one was different, more cunning, more powerful. It stumped its massive feet into the pavement, sending shockwaves through the streets, toppling buildings and tearing the ground apart. Superman's mind raced. This was the tipping point. He needed to act fast. He couldn't let it get any worse. He descended from the sky like a streak of light, hitting the creature with the force of a freight train. The collision shook the streets, sending a shockwave through the city, and the ground cracked beneath their feet. The monster screeched, its massive claws scraping against the pavement as it reared back to strike. Superman flew to the side, narrowly avoiding the beast's swipe. He was fast, but this creature was faster than anything he had encountered before. It was as though it knew exactly how to fight back. Superman hovered above the creature, scanning its massive body. Its skin was too thick for his heat vision to penetrate, and it was too fast for him to land a punch without risking his own safety. He needed a new strategy. As he dodged another swipe, he realized that the creature was more than just a beast. It was a weapon. It was using its strength to destroy everything in its path, and there was no sign of stopping. Superman needed help. He needed someone who could match this creature's power, a being who was just as strong, just as determined, but also reckless. And then he remembered. Bruce Banner, the man who had once been his ally, had disappeared years ago, hiding from the world in fear of the monster within him, the Hulk. But if ever there was a time to call on him, it was now. The world was falling apart, and there was no more time for hesitation. Superman flew across the sky, heading towards the location where he knew Banner had been hiding. The winds howled around him as he pushed himself faster, desperate to find the one ally who could help him defeat the growing plague. Meanwhile, back in the heart of the chaos, the creature continued its rampage, tearing through the remnants of the city. It wasn't just attacking randomly. It was targeting strategic locations, cutting off escape routes, and making it impossible for the authorities to contain the spread of the virus. As the creature roared again, a feeling of helplessness began to creep over Superman. He had always been able to save the day, but now he was just one man against an army of monsters, and time was running out. The virus was spreading, and if he couldn't stop it soon, there would be no one left to save. The fate of the world was in his hands, but the question remained, could even Superman stop a plague this powerful? The first strike. The world was collapsing beneath the weight of an unseen enemy. With every passing hour, the infection spread, mutating more and more of the population into monstrous creatures. The streets were filled with the sounds of destruction, screams, roars, and the relentless pounding of enormous feet as titanic beasts tore through the cities. Humanity's greatest cities were now nothing more than crumbling shells, their once proud skylines reduced to dust and ruin. In the midst of this chaos, Superman had found a moment of clarity. He couldn't do this alone. The power of the monsters, coupled with the speed at which the virus was spreading, left even the Man of Steel feeling vulnerable. As the world's hope, he had always been able to protect Earth from countless dangers, but the virus was different. The creatures it created were relentless, adaptive, and intelligent in ways no one had anticipated. The memory of the beast he had fought in New York still haunted him, the one that had nearly torn him apart. He had done everything he could to stop it, but it was clear. Superman needed more than just strength. He needed backup. That backup would come in the form of the Hulk. Superman flew across the skies, heading toward the remote location where he knew Bruce Banner had hidden away. It had been years since they had spoken, and though Superman trusted Bruce, he was unsure how the Hulk would respond. But in the face of humanity's extinction, he knew there was no time for hesitation. The world needed the Hulk's power, even if it meant risking his rage. As Superman approached, he saw the familiar, secluded laboratory nestled in the side of a mountain. It had been years since Bruce had gone into hiding, and yet the place still stood, pristine and untouched. Superman landed silently on the rocky ground outside the lab, taking a deep breath before stepping forward. He knocked on the door. The soft thud echoed through the air, but there was no answer. Superman hesitated for only a moment before he used his super strength to gently open the door. Inside, Bruce sat at a desk, scribbling notes in a notebook, his glasses perched on the edge of his nose. The laboratory was filled with books, papers, and technology that spoke to Bruce's brilliance. "Bruce," Superman said, his voice calm but filled with urgency. "We need you. The world is under attack. The virus has spread beyond control, and we can't stop it without your help." Bruce didn't look up at first. He kept writing, his mind clearly focused on something else. After a few tense moments, he finally spoke, his voice quiet and cautious. "I can't do this, Clark. I can't risk turning back into him. You know what happens when I lose control." Superman walked closer, placing a hand on the table. "Bruce, this isn't just about us anymore. This is about the world, about everything we fought for. The Hulk's power is the only thing that can stand against what's out there. We need him." Bruce closed his eyes and took a deep breath. For a long moment, the room was silent. Then, with a sharp exhale, he stood. "I don't know if I can control him anymore. The Hulk's power has always been unpredictable." "You're not alone in this, Bruce. We fight together. You don't have to control him. Just channel his rage toward the right enemy." Bruce finally nodded, his expression solemn. "All right, let's get to work." Superman led Bruce out of the lab and into the wilderness beyond. The air was crisp, and the mountains loomed large around them. Bruce seemed more focused than he had been in years, his mind clearly working through the problem at hand. As they reached a wide, open field, Superman turned to Bruce. "We don't have much time. The virus is spreading faster than we thought. And the monsters, it's not just about strength anymore. They're evolving, becoming more intelligent." Bruce nodded grimly. "I know. I've seen the reports. This virus isn't just a biological weapon. It's a new form of life. It's adapting, and if we don't stop it now, the entire world will be overrun." The ground trembled beneath their feet, and both heroes turned sharply. In the distance, a massive shadow loomed, followed by the sound of thundering footsteps. A mutated titan, easily 30 feet tall, emerged from the trees. Its skin was a mixture of reptilian scales and jagged armor, and its eyes burned with an unnatural red glow. It was faster than any of the previous creatures Superman had encountered, and its claws looked as though they could slice through steel. Superman's jaw tightened. "We don't have a choice. This one's ours." Bruce's eyes flashed, and in an instant, the Hulk emerged. His massive green form exploded from within Bruce, his muscles bulging and his body radiating pure, uncontrollable energy. He roared, the ground shaking beneath his feet as he charged toward the creature. Smash! Hulk bellowed, his fists crashing into the Titan with devastating force. The ground cracked under the impact, sending waves of dust and debris flying. The creature staggered, but it quickly recovered, swiping at the Hulk with its massive claws. Superman flew into the air, using his heat vision to weaken the creature's scales, aiming for the spots where its armor was thin. The blast struck the creature's back, sending it reeling. But the Titan wasn't finished yet. It lunged at Superman, its claws slashing through the air. Superman dodged, barely avoiding the swipe, and quickly moved in, using his super strength to deliver a powerful punch to the creature's side. The Titan let out a deafening roar, but the Hulk was already there, landing another earth-shattering punch. Together, Superman and Hulk worked in unison, their combined powers pushing the Titan back. The creature was strong, but it was no match for their combined might. With one final, powerful blow from Hulk, the creature fell, its body crumbling to the ground. Panting and bruised, Superman and Hulk stood victorious. The monster lay dead at their feet, but the battle was far from over. "We've only just begun," Superman said, his voice grim. "The virus is mutating faster than we can fight it, and there will be more of these things." Bruce, still in the form of the Hulk, nodded, his fury barely contained. "Then we smash more." Together, they turned to face the horizon, knowing that the fight for the world's survival had only just begun. The virus had unleashed a plague of monsters, and it was up to them to stop it before humanity was lost forever. The battle rages on. The city was crumbling. What was once the beating heart of civilization had now become the epicenter of a global war between humanity's last hope and the monsters unleashed by the virus. It was a battle the likes of which the world had never seen, and the stakes could not have been higher. In every corner of the globe, cities were falling, overrun by titanic creatures, mutated by the virus, and fueled by an insatiable hunger for destruction. Superman and Hulk, two of Earth's most powerful beings, had already fought countless battles against the mutated beasts, but even together, they were struggling. The creatures were evolving too quickly, adapting to their every move, growing smarter and stronger. Each victory seemed to be followed by an even greater challenge. The virus, as it turned out, was not just creating monsters, it was creating an army. Superman hovered above the city, scanning the horizon. The once bright skies of Metropolis were now thick with dark clouds, the sun barely visible through the smoke and ash rising from the ruins. In the distance, the roars of mutated titans echoed through the air, signaling that the battle was far from over. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. The city around him was in ruins, but the virus was continuing to spread. The number of infected creatures was growing exponentially, and it wasn't just New York. Every major city on the planet had fallen, and there was no safe haven left. Hulk stood beside him, fists clenched, his massive form tense with barely contained rage. He was a force of nature, unstoppable, indestructible. But even he was starting to feel the weight of this battle. The Hulk's power was immense, but it wasn't infinite. And with every passing day, the creatures seemed to be more powerful than the last. "I can't do this forever," Hulk growled, his voice thick with frustration. "We need to stop this virus before it spreads any further. These things are getting stronger, smarter." Superman looked at Hulk, his jaw set. "I know, Bruce. We've been fighting nonstop, but it's not just about strength anymore. We're facing something we've never encountered before. This virus, it's not just turning people into monsters. It's turning them into something more, a weapon." Hulk nodded, his rage simmering beneath the surface. "I don't care what it's turning them into. I just want to smash it." Superman sighed, his eyes scanning the ruins of Metropolis. "I know. But smashing won't stop the virus. We need to find its source and eliminate it before it can spread any further. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath their feet. A massive roar echoed through the city, followed by the thundering sound of footsteps. From the distance, a towering beast emerged from the wreckage of a destroyed skyscraper. It was a new type of monster, larger than any they had fought before. Its body was a twisted combination of reptilian scales and metallic armor, its eyes glowing with a menacing, red hue. It was massive, with claws that could easily tear through steel, and its roar sent a chill down Superman's spine. "This one's bigger than the last," Superman muttered, his eyes narrowing. "And it's not alone." Just as he spoke, several more titanic creatures appeared from the wreckage. They were a new breed, faster, stronger, and more aggressive than anything they had faced before. The virus had evolved once again, and it was clear that these monsters weren't just mindless creatures. They were a force of nature, and they were coming for them. Hulk's eyes flashed with unrestrained fury. Time to smash. Before Superman could respond, Hulk launched himself at the nearest creature with the force of a freight train, his fists colliding with its armored hide. The impact created a shockwave, sending debris flying in every direction. The creature staggered but quickly recovered, slashing at Hulk with its massive claws. Superman dove into the fray, his heat vision firing at the monster's exposed joints. The blast seared through its armor, but the creature barely flinched. It was as though the virus had made these monsters immune to their usual methods of attack. Superman realized they couldn't rely on brute force alone. They needed a new strategy. As the battle raged on, the creatures continued to attack with precision. They were working together, strategizing, almost as if they were being controlled by some higher intelligence. Hulk was relentlessly smashing, but the monsters were adapting, using their agility to dodge his blows and retaliate with deadly strikes of their own. "Bruce, focus. We need to take them down one at a time," Superman shouted over the roar of the battle. "I'm trying, Clark." Hulk bellowed, landing another crushing blow to one of the beasts. But they just keep coming. Superman darted in and out of the fight, using his super speed to dodge the creature's attacks while landing precise punches to their weak spots. But even his speed and strength weren't enough to keep up with the sheer number of monsters. Every time they took down one, two more took its place. "This is hopeless," Superman muttered under his breath, frustration creeping into his voice. "We can't keep fighting like this. We need to stop the virus, or we're never going to win." Just then, a new, larger monster appeared, much more formidable than the others. It had tentacles that lashed out with lightning speed, its body covered in thick, dark spines. It was unlike any creature they had encountered before, and it moved with a terrifying fluidity. Superman knew they couldn't fight this one the same way. "Hulk, I need you to distract it. I'll find its weak spot." Hulk grunted, launching himself at the creature with a mighty roar. He swung his fists, landing heavy blows on the Titan's armored body. The monster howled in pain but retaliated, using its tentacles to slam Hulk into the ground. Superman darted around the beast, his eyes scanning for weakness. He saw it. There was a gap in the creature's armor, just beneath its chest, where its heart was located. With one final burst of speed, Superman flew toward the creature, using his heat vision to burn through the armor and expose the heart. With a final punch, he drove his fist into the monster's chest, piercing its heart. The creature let out a deafening screech before collapsing, its massive body crumbling to the ground. Breathing heavily, Superman and Hulk stood victorious, but only for a moment. The virus was still spreading, and the monsters were only getting stronger. "This isn't over," Superman said, looking at Hulk. "We've stopped one, but there's more coming. We need to find the source of this virus before it's too late." Hulk nodded, his fist still clenched. Hulk smash virus. And with that, they set off once more into the heart of the destruction, knowing that the war was far from over.